so welcome to our official online learning. All right, so we're going to be starting Unit 5 off like this. So remember, we're going to be talking about kind of post-World War I America during this time. Okay, so we'll be looking at the Roaring Twenties. All right, so the first part of this, we're going to look at kind of the situation politically in the United States during the 1920s. Okay, so the 1920 election, again, main thing that you need to know about this, we're going to see overwhelmingly Warren G. Harding is going to be elected president. He's going to be a Republican president. And we're going to see kind of a transition of what he believed versus kind of the presidents that we saw in the Progressive era. All right, so under Warren G. Harding, okay, kind of the big things that you need to know, okay, he promises this idea during his campaign is this return to normalcy. Okay, he's kind of promising life would go back to the way it was before World War I and even really before the Progressive era. Okay, so what that means is he's almost kind of launching us back into the Gilded Age as far as what we believe politically. Okay, so again, he believed laissez-faire, so he was a very hands-off president, which again kind of encouraged higher tariffs or those tax on imported goods. And then it's kind of decreasing the role of the government. Okay, so limited government regulation. We're also still following our policy of isolationism. Remember, we just got mixed up in World War I. We did not want to get involved again. And also, this term is going to be very important, disarmament. Okay, so when we talk about disarm, we mean kind of breaking down the standing military. Okay, so think back to when we talked about the causes of World War I. Remember, both of these things are what kind of caused the United States to enter the war. So he's really getting at the root of the causes of the war. Okay, this is mostly a review, so you don't necessarily have to write this down. But in regards to why we are being isolationists, so remember, foreign policy is going to be isolationism during this time period. And just a refresher from the end of World War I, we did not sign the Treaty of Versailles. We thought it was too harsh on Germany, and then we did not join the League of Nations. That put us in too much of a power position to get involved in other people's conflicts. Okay, so the way we ended the war, we signed separate treaties with the Central Powers. While the 1920s did offer this idea of a return to normalcy, Warren G. Harding also gets wrapped up in a lot of scandals. Okay, so two main ones that you need to know is the Teapot Dome scandal, as you see in this cartoon right here with the teapot and the oil barrel getting ready to roll them. And again, you see in this direction, it's directly going to affect the White House. Basically, someone in his cabinet got caught selling land that was set aside for the Navy, and he sold off that land to private businesses and kind of kept the profits. And then, remember we talked about how your friends can kind of get you in trouble when we talked about alliances. Same type of thing. Harding was using the spoil system to put his friends into his cabinet, and then his friends were acting foolish and getting in trouble, which again kind of looked bad on him. So his cabinet actually got nicknamed the Ohio Gang because he was putting those friends in those positions. Okay, so two big things that kind of shed a bad light on his presidency. Okay, so shortly after, Calvin Coolidge, who was nicknamed Cool Cal, he's going to take over for president. He very much so has a similar platform as Harding. He supports big businesses, again, is very, very laissez-faire. And he's going to pass those same idea of the high tariffs. Okay, so again, same political policies as we saw when we talked about Harding. Okay, to further this idea of disarmament, okay, we're going to pass the Washington Naval Disarmament Conference. Okay, so again, you see the meeting of the bigwigs from several of these large, powerful countries. And basically what we wanted to do was kind of restrict the size of each country's navy. Okay, remember, think back to mania. Militarism was one of those causes. Okay, if we didn't have a large standing army, we were not a direct threat. Okay, so again, all of these things are going back and kind of addressing what were the causes of the war, how can we prevent it, and how can we prevent another war. Very similar to this, and again, you most definitely do not have to know the ratios, like for each country. but very similar. Another way to limit the Navy is to limit how many battleships could be active for each country, and it based on the size of the country and the size of the Navy at that time. So this is kind of specifically in regards to these large major battleships. But again, you see there's kind of a loophole that countries use to get around it. You could have as many small warships as you wanted. This is specifically restricting large battleships. Okay, economically, we're going to dabble this in a little bit. Again, this is kind of foreshadowing to what is to come. Okay, in the pink here on this map, these are all countries that have been loaned money by the U.S. Okay, so the U.S.'s economy is very much so tied to the European economy at this point. Okay, in the blue, the bigger the bar, the more money was given to these European places. Okay, so France, Belgium, Great Britain, Italy, Czechoslovakia, even Russia. Okay, and then in the green, these are places that were kind of helping rebuild due to the war. Okay, $349 million totally invested into Europe during this time period. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind economically as we move forward. Okay, remember at the end of the war, we talked about Germany had to bail out because they could not financially afford to keep the war going any longer. Okay, so after the war, remember we hit Germany with reparations that they couldn't afford, and basically hyperinflation takes over Germany. Okay, so if you look at this picture right here, this lady is literally burning German money because it is more valuable as kindling or fire making materials than it is to spend. The money becomes worthless. Okay, in order to buy a cup of coffee or a loaf of bread, you would literally have to bring a wheelbarrow full of these dollars, okay, or this cash in order to make it worthwhile. Okay, so the money is almost worth nothing in Germany at this time period. So Germany's economy is collapsing, and we have to consider, okay, how do we fix that? What do we do? Okay, so the United States decided to step in and initiate the Dawes Plan. And basically it's saying we would kind of slowly help Germany pay back reparations. Okay, so the United States is going to loan Germany money. Okay, in your notes, however you're taking them, because that's totally up to you, because now you're independent online learners. I want you to understand how this ties up our economy to both Germany and to kind of Europe in the bigger sense. Okay, so if we start kind of here in the U.S., and we make this like a 1, you draw a triangle, make this 1, the United States is going to give $2.5 billion in loans to Germany. Germany is going to take that money. Okay, they're going to use some of it to rebuild, and then they're going to use the rest of it to pay back the Allies, okay, to pay back those reparations. They're going to do this slowly in payments, and then the Allies, okay, remember looking back to that map, how much money was owed, okay, the Allies would be able to pay the United States money back. So really, we're kind of giving money to getting money, okay, but our main goal is this is to help stabilize Germany and then help stabilize Europe. With the Locarno Pact, again, this is basically showing the land that was broken up. We talked about this at the end of Unit 4, at the end of World War I. The Central Powers had to give up their land according to the Treaty of Versailles. So you just see kind of the shifting and the breaking up the map. So when we did that map of World War I, it's going to look different than the map that we started in World War II because the land is broken up. Austria-Hungary had to break up their empire. So you see they turn into several places, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, and again, that map changes even after that, okay? These places are all broken up even further today. Okay, last one that we're going to look at for your notes today, okay, is going to be the Kellogg-Briand Pact. Not Kellogg-Briand, we're not talking about the cereal, okay? But the Kellogg-Briand Pact, basically, okay, it's kind of trying to stretch, and what it does is it outlaws aggression. Okay, it basically said that you could not declare war, you could not act aggressively to a country if they weren't doing what they said they would, or they're breaking promises, or things like that. So again, countries are signing this, and again, it's like saying we're not going to push buttons, we're not going to declare war if at all possible. So remember, again, big picture, we're trying to prevent another world war. Okay. Again, the problem with this is a really good idea, but this is like signing a contract saying you're never going to insult somebody or be mean or do something like that. There's no really way to enforce it. Okay, so nobody's really there to enforce it. Again, the League of Nations is in place, but there's no one there to be kind of the military, be the backbone. Okay, so everybody kind of gets this false sense of security that everything's okay, but again, there is no real way to enforce it. Okay, so this is day 1. Pretty easy. Please leave a comment, email, message me and Remind, or Google Classroom if you have any questions on this stuff. Okay, you will have warm-up questions on this video to do tomorrow, and this is the stuff that you'll need to know for your primary documents. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Hope you're doing well.